Hello, this is Brett from SurvivalComms, and today on the bench we have an MFJ QRP pocket tuner, model 9201. This is a small HF antenna tuner, and don't let the QRP thing fool you. This will handle 100 watts of single sideband pretty easily. And you can see that we have a variable inductor and two variable capacitors and an antenna input and a transmitter input. And you can see what our problem is with this here is they had glued this to this insulating material and that's busted loose. So we're going to need to address that. And I'm also going to make a few modifications to make this device work even better. Well, let's start by taking everything apart. So now that we've got our device apart, you can see our capacitors, our inductor, and you can see how this kind of snaps into place here into these relieved cutouts they had, and they used a little bit of super glue, it looks like, to hold these in place, and that didn't work out so well. So we're going to come up with a more robust solution that's going to hold this together. Well, now we've got our capacitor assembly removed, and then we're going to cut a strip of this copper clad circuit board material, and we're going to make it 1 centimeter wide. And we're going to go ahead and build a clamp that's going to run along the top of this. And the 440 machine screws that hold this whole assembly together, we're going to increase the length of those. And that's going to hold this in place with a strong mechanical connection. So I've got my strip done to retain our capacitor assembly. The next modification we're going to make is deleting this tuner and bypass switch. I don't particularly find these switches useful. It's very easy just to disconnect your RF cable and put in a barrel connector if you want to bypass the tuner. So in this kind of tuner, I don't see this being practical at all, especially a slider switch, because you can see this is pretty sketchy right there. You can't get repeatable settings. These things are so small anyway that they're kind of fidgety whenever you're tuning them, and adding this to the mix just makes things much worse. And there's loss involved in a switch assembly such as this, and I'll go ahead and demonstrate that right now. I have my spectrum analyzer across the RF ports on our tuner, and I have the switch in the bypass position, and that is going to be where you're basically have an antenna in line, and look at the kind of loss you're getting across that switch. I mean, the maximum amount of loss, which is in marker 1 here, is almost minus 40 dB. So again, that switch is sketchy. Look at the insane amount of solder they used. This is crazy. I've removed the variable inductor as well. I'm just going to go ahead and reflow all of these solder joints while I'm at it. Well, now that we got that squared away, let's go ahead and reassemble the rest of our tuner. We're going to take our insulated layer there, and they've actually threaded that material. So we'll have to run it up through our plastic on both sides. Once that's in place and tightened up, we'll go ahead and take those same nuts that have star locks on them, thread those down, and then use a wrench to tighten these up. And as a precaution, I have insulated our clamp with fiberglass tape, although there's going to be plenty of distance between the connections on the capacitor and the clamp itself. And here's our clamp in place, and we're going to secure our clamp with 440 stainless lock nuts. Now our clamp is tightened up and secured, and our capacitors are very solid now. They're not going anywhere. Now install our shorting bar. Now we tie our inductor to our shorting bar. And now we make our RF connections. Well, we have our work done now. We have our capacitors mounted securely. We have our capacitors tied into our RF connector. The other side of the capacitor tied into the shorting bar. The shorting bar goes to the inductor. The inductor goes to ground. So we're ready to reassemble this and test it out. Now let's go over the use of this device while we're testing it out. Do yourself a favor, get yourself a notebook or pad to record the data. As with a manual tuner, this saves you a lot of time. Traditionally the way we were taught with a manual tuner was to tune for a maximum received signal or noise and then proceed to fine-tuning with the transmitter, minimizing reflected power while maximizing forward power. This could take a lot of time without having a starting point, and that's what your notebook is. It is a record of these initial settings for a specific frequency within an individual band of a specific antenna. Rather than QRM the crap out of spectrum, a simple nano VNA or antenna analyzer is going to save you a lot of time, and it's a tool well worth having. Auto tuners have become so very common now that many take this for granted. On that note, with a tuner, please tune up a few kilohertz away from a busy target frequency. The recent hurricane net before Helene made landfall was a perfect example. Almost the entire noise floor was auto tuner QRM. A manual tuner and a notebook with a nano VNA or analyzer saves your battery resource and reduces electromagnetic signature. I'm impressed with just how well this little tuner performs. So far I've been able to match the bizarre loads I've thrown at it, and it has done just as well as my little Dentron here, which in its own right is a good tuner. Both the MFJ and the Dentron are examples of a family of tuners known as T-matches. Now T-matches are very capable, but do have a reputation of being lossier than an L or a Z match. And I happen to have a Z match here, and that's my MTech ZM2. And the Z match doesn't have the impedance matching capabilities of these two devices, however, although there are advantages to the Z match. The Z match is good if you're using a balanced antenna, and this antenna tuner here has less power handling capability than either one of these, of course. So let's do some testing. We will test our tuners head-to-head while doing what they do, matching impedances. We'll use my ZS6 BKW as a test antenna and test our tuners under a light mismatch at 12 meters and a heavy mismatch at 30 meters. I will generate a signal at the tuned frequency on a separate antenna, and we will measure the received signal across the ZS6 BKW and our tuners with the data recorded on my spectrum analyzer. This is going to be fun. We're going to start by showing you what type of load our antenna presents at the test bands connected to the analyzer only. First up is our 12 meter band, which is our light mismatch. Now the 30 meter band, which is going to represent our heavy mismatch. Now we have connected our Dentron tuner and the analyzer, and this is our state of load through the tuner on the 12 meter band. And this is our received signal. Next we have connected our MFJ, and this is the state of load through the tuner on the 12 meter band. And this is our received signal. Next we have connected our MTech, and this is the state of load and the received signal on 12 meters. Now on to our heavy mismatch, and the MTech is unable to match this antenna on the 30 meter band, so it will not be in our test. Now we have connected our Dentron tuner and the analyzer, and this is our state of load through the tuner on the 30 meter band, and this is our received signal. Next we have connected our MFJ tuner, and this is the state of load through the tuner on the 30 meter band, and this is our received signal. Well, here is the data we captured, and the MFJ did well in this testing and demonstrated the least loss. Deviation was all within a few tenths of a dB in our over-the-air generated signal test, and you can see the best case matching results of the tuners with our test antenna. The MTech would not match at 30 meters, which was anticipated. I did do some further straight insertion loss testing between the MFJ and the Dentron by tuning them into a 50 ohm load and sweeping them with a spectrum analyzer and tracking generator, and again minimal deviation was observed. and I did a closed circuit sweep with the signal generator and the tuner tuned for the antenna's load with the spectrum analyzer, and similar results were also observed. For those of you who have made it this far, I'm going to demonstrate just how much signal is lost in our test mismatch. Here I have sent a generated signal across our tuner that is matched to a 50 ohm load and fed into our spectrum analyzer. Now I have tuned the tuner for our test antenna, the load of which is a mismatch to our spectrum analyzer. You can see we are getting close to 6 dB of signal loss across this particular load mismatch, and that is why even when we are using just a receiver, a tuner provides valuable service in enhancing performance. Now, after making the repairs and deleting the bypass switch, I am very happy with this tuner. It is impressive that this tuner possesses the power handling capability it does in a very compact form factor. That being said, I would not use this tuner at 100 watts on digital, but on sideband or intermittent CW it should be okay. One thing to remember, if you don't know already, is that you would never want to try to touch up the tune under power with a tuner such as this. That would not be a healthy choice for the device. I hope this helps. This is Brett from SurvivalComms. Until next time.